the seed of patience. In the quiet town of Evergreen Hollow, Professor Elias Seed was known as much for his vast greenhouse as for his solitary ways. A botanist in his late 50s, he had spent decades studying the slow miracle of growth, how a tiny seed, buried in soil, demanded unwavering patience to bloom into something magnificent. Patience is the soil of all great things, he'd tell his students at the local university, though his own heart had long been a barren field. Widowed young, Elias had buried his capacity for love alongside his late wife, convinced that some wounds never healed. Enter Grace Malone, a vibrant 42-year-old artist who had recently moved to town after a painful divorce. Grace enrolled in Professor Seed's evening botany class, drawn not just to the science but to the poetry of plants. She was a whirlwind of color and curiosity, her sketches of flowers bursting with life. But beneath her bright exterior, Grace carried her own scars. Years of rushing into relationships that wilted too soon, leaving her wary of love's fragile roots. Their story began with a simple assignment. Each student was to nurture a rare orchid seed from dormancy to bloom. Grace's seed refused to sprout. Week after week she fretted, poking at the soil, overwatering in her impatience. "Why won't it grow?" she exclaimed one evening after class, her voice laced with frustration. Professor Seed, adjusting his glasses, knelt beside her pot. "Patience, Miss Malone. Love isn't forced, it's cultivated. Water it gently, give it light, and wait. The seed knows its time." Intrigued by his calm wisdom, Grace began lingering after class. They talked of art and science, loss and renewal. Elias shared stories of his wife's garden, how she taught him that love, like a perennial, could return if given space. Grace confessed her fears of vulnerability, how her impatience had uprooted every chance at happiness. As months passed, their conversations deepened into walks through the greenhouse where Elias showed her the slow dance of vines climbing trellises. Grace's orchid finally pushed a tentative green shoot through the earth, not because she forced it, but because she learned to wait, to tend it with steady care. In turn, Elias felt his own heart stir, like a seed awakening after a long winter. One crisp autumn day, as golden leaves fell outside, Grace presented him with a painting, a vibrant orchid in full bloom, its petals forming a heart. "You've taught me patience, Professor," she said softly. "And in waiting, I found something worth the time, you." Elias took her hand, his eyes misty. "And you've shown me that love can grow again, Grace, even in the most unlikely soil." They married in the greenhouse the following spring, surrounded by blooming flowers that whispered of patience rewarded. Professor Seed and Grace Malone became living proof that love, like a seed, flourishes not in haste, but in the gentle rhythm of time and tender care. Thanks for listening.